Welcome back. This morning, we're spotlighting the case of the Kentucky sheriff who shot and killed a judge. Now, these two were friends. They were friends. They had just gone to lunch that day. And today, former Sheriff Mickey Stines is going to be arraigned after he was just indicted by a grand jury for the crime of murder of a public official. The judge he's accused of killing was his longtime friend, Judge Kevin Mullins. And there is surveillance video of the incident. You'll recall this was played in court at the preliminary hearing. You can see the two of them talking, and then you see the sheriff raise up his firearm and shoot. Now, we still don't know the motive. Law enforcement's being really tight-lipped about this, but we know that Stines called his daughter, his minor daughter, from his phone and from the judge's phone right before the shooting. Take a listen.
I wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid.
Now, Stines' attorneys don't deny that Stines shot Mullins, but they say that he was in the middle of an extreme emotional disturbance. So they are fighting the charge of murder. They're saying this is more of a manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter situation. Now, there's this connection with Stines' daughter that's very unclear, probably deliberately unclear. Let's talk about what could have made the sheriff so upset at his friend, the judge, so upset that he shot and killed him. Let's bring back in our guests, attorneys Tommy Pope and Kevin Brackett. Tommy, I want to go to you, please. General thoughts on what's being put out in the public realm and what's very clearly being kept quiet about this.
Julie, initially, when we were talking about it in the past, it sounded almost like something of a sexual nature, perhaps. When we first were covering it, we talked about his phone and the judge's phone and why the daughter's number would be in there and so on and so forth. But what you just heard from the testimony was that he said some variation of they're trying to kidnap my wife and daughter, which to me lends itself perhaps to some type of delusion or mental health issue that we're not aware of, that, may be some form of mitigation, because either it's heat of passion or there's some serious mental health issues going on.
That's a really good point, Tommy. Either or here, perhaps. I have a clip I want to play for you, Kevin. This is one of the Kentucky State Police detectives. His name is Clayton Stamper. He was on the stand as the one witness called during the preliminary hearing. Let's take a listen to some of what he testified to pertaining to the phone calls that the sheriff made while he was in the judge's chambers.
Sheriff Stines uses his telephone to make some phone calls. He then borrows Judge Mullins' cell phone and appears to make a call on that. And that led to what you just saw.
Kevin, I want to get your thoughts, please, here on the part of the story that's missing. There's something going on with the sheriff's daughter that isn't being spoken about. What do you think, please?
It's very clear, what happened in this case, but the why is the question. And as regards the daughter and the fact that he called the daughter from his own phone as well as the judge's phone, and that he had the judge had the daughter's phone number in his phone. Now, of course, I don't know the history and the length of their relationship. He could be the godfather to the child. I don't know. So it's definitely, there's a lot of unknowns here, but it certainly, it lends itself to speculation, which I don't like to get into, even because I don't know this man, and I would never want to speculate the deceased on what may have been going on in his life. But in addition to the comments Tommy made about the sheriff may have been under a delusion or some sort of mental health breakdown, there's also some possibility that there is a wrinkle to this relationship that we're unaware of, which could have excited the anger of the sheriff and caused him to do what he did. But we don't know what that is, and I really don't like to speculate because, again, Judge Mullins, his own reputation and personality, his own reputation is on the line, and he's the victim in this case.
Right. Thank you for that, Kevin. I know that this came out during the preliminary hearing that investigators, and you would hope they would cross-check everything. So not only have they gone through the sheriff's phone records, the judge's phone records, but they're also going through the daughter's phone records, as we found out. Tommy, I'd like to play this clip for you. Again, this is that same investigator from the preliminary hearing.
You intend to obtain records for her cell phone number?
Possibly, yes.
Do you believe that that will be soon that you'll do that?
Could be, yes.
Had you already intended to do that, or did you just respond to my question?
Well, the call should be on the judge's records too.
Well, I understand.
And she's made statements about what occurred during those conversations.
Okay, so that gives us a little bit more that perhaps there was communication going on between the judge and the daughter. Was it inappropriate? Maybe, maybe not. Tommy, what'd you think when you heard that clip there?
I think our first mind is to go exactly where you went, and it must be nefarious. But, you know, the officer was so flat in his delivery, it could have been she told us that she was working on an intern project and needed more information about judges. I was thinking what Kevin was saying, you know, our judge is here. You know, Kevin probably has my daughter's phone number and I have hers, you know, to help them with school or whatever the case may be. So, again, back to Kevin not wanting to speculate, Julie, it could be, you know, an innocent answer. It is clear to me that law enforcement knows and that we're going to have to hear it in court.
Right, right, Tommy. You know, and another thing too, and again, we don't know, and I appreciate how careful you both are being with not speculating and just analyzing the facts as we know them. Kevin, let's say just for the sake of our analysis, because I'm sure you run into this, you know, in your office, let's say there was something inappropriate going on with that minor child, let's say, and then you have this prosecution going on of the child's parent. How do you protect the child and what occurred? Do you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to violate her privacy. You know, if that is the situation, again, we don't know. But if you need to carry out the prosecution and if it's part of the story, what things do you do as a solicitor to try to protect any minor victims who may come up in any case? Not saying it's going on in this one. We don't know.
Well, you do have to have these things take place in an open courtroom, because in the U.S. all the courts are open. What you can do to protect the child in some circumstances is allow them to testify remotely via closed circuit television or something of that nature, to keep them from having to do this in front of a bunch of strangers. But if it's information and it's relevant, it needs to come out.
And appreciate that remote testimony, something to conceal the minor's identity. And we do see it often with the cases we have, as you both know. We see that sometimes it's voice only, sometimes, as you said, different courtroom setup, Kevin. So we'll just have to wait and see if that is in fact the case. Again, we don't know, but really appreciate the great analysis from you both. Can't wait to have you both back here on Opening Statements. Attorneys and friends and colleagues, Tommy Pope and Kevin Brackett, thank you both so much for your time and your expertise.